tennis isn't just a game. It's a test of willpower, precision, and heart. And if there's one name that embodies everything this sport stands for, it's Roger Federer. For over 2 decades, Federer wasn't merely a player. He was a force of nature, a true artist on the court who turned every match into a masterpiece. His movements were fluid, his shots defied belief, and he had an uncanny ability to make the impossible look effortless. But what we saw on the surface was only part of the story. Behind the grace and the poise, there was a journey filled with battles fought, lessons learned, and an unyielding determination to achieve greatness. It's a journey that forged a legacy, one that will continue to echo through the halls of tennis history for generations to come. This is not just the story of a tennis champion, it's the story of an icon, a legend, and a man who redefined the game. This is the incredible story of Roger Federer. Enjoy! Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. These videos take a lot of time and effort to create, and your support means the world to us. Before the world knew his name, Roger Federer was just a kid from Basel, a kid who could never sit still, who had to be moving, playing, competing. He tried everything from soccer and basketball to skateboarding and even rugby. But there was one thing that captured his heart like nothing else: tennis. It started with a simple racket, a few balls, and a passion that would soon ignite into something much bigger. By age 11, Federer was already one of Switzerland's top junior players. But this was no fairy tale. He was far from the calm, composed athlete we'd come to know. On the court, young Roger was a firecracker. Frustrated by mistakes, he would hurl his racket, lose his temper, and let his emotions get the best of him. His father had one rule: just don't cheat. But even that was sometimes hard to follow when the fire inside him burned so hot. As Roger's talent grew, so did the pressure. Expectations mounted, but with every match, his temper flared. He was his own worst enemy, battling not just his opponents, but the anger that boiled within him. It all came to a head in one match, a match he was destined to win, but lost to a lesser player. Not because the other guy was better, but because Roger couldn't control himself. He walked off the court that day, not just defeated, but shattered. And in that moment, something changed. Roger realized that if he wanted to be great, truly great, he had to conquer not just his opponents, but his own demons. This wasn't just about hitting a ball, it was about mastering the mind. And that realization would be the first step in a transformation that would change everything. From that day forward, Federer's journey became about more than just tennis. It was about discipline, about learning to channel his energy, to harness that fire without letting it burn out of control. By the time he was 14, Federer was Switzerland's national junior champion, a title that came with more pressure, more expectations, but also more opportunity. He moved to the Swiss National Tennis Center in Koblenz, leaving home behind to live and breathe tennis. The sacrifices were immense. He was just a boy, missing home, missing his family, but determined to forge a path. Every day was a battle, not just against his peers, but against himself. The hours of practice, the grueling conditioning, the mental strain, it was all part of his journey. And slowly, bit by bit, the temper began to cool. In its place, something stronger was being forged. By 1998, just before turning pro, Federer won the junior Wimbledon title. But this victory was just a taste of what was to come. Because the real story, the one the world would watch unfold, was just beginning. When Federer turned pro in 1998, he was ready to take on the world. But tennis at this level was a different beast. The players were faster, stronger, more experienced. But Roger had something they didn't: a relentless drive to improve, a willingness to adapt, and a mindset that had been sharpened by years of self-reflection. Then came 2001, Wimbledon. Federer, just 19 years old, faced off against Pete Sampras, the reigning champion, a man who had ruled the grass courts for years. No one expected what happened next. In a match that stunned the world, Roger defeated Sampras in 5 sets, announcing his arrival on the global stage. But even as he basked in the glow of victory, he knew this was just one battle in a much larger war. Despite his growing success, Federer knew that the road ahead was still long and fraught with challenges. He had conquered his temper, but now he faced a new challenge: the mental game. Tennis is as much a battle of the mind as it is of the body, and Federer knew that his greatest opponents weren't the players on the other side of the net, but the doubts, the fears, and the pressure that came with being one of the best. During this time, Federer sought the help of sports psychologist Christian Marcoli, someone who could help him navigate the mental maze of professional sports. Over the next few years, he learned to master his mind as he had mastered his racket. He found a balance between the fire that drove him to win and the ice that kept him cool under pressure. This wasn't just a strategy, it was a philosophy, one that would carry him through the next phase of his career. And then it happened. In 2003, Roger Federer won his first Grand Slam at Wimbledon. It was more than just a victory, it was a statement. The boy who once let his temper rule him had become a man in control of his game, of his mind, of his destiny, and the world was about to witness something extraordinary. Over the next few years, Federer was unstoppable. He didn't just win, he dominated. The Australian Open, the US Open, and of course, Wimbledon again and again. By 2004, he was ranked #1 in the world, a position he held for an incredible 237 consecutive weeks. During this time, he won Grand Slam after Grand Slam, setting records that seemed untouchable. His game was poetry in motion, fluid, powerful, precise. But it was his mental toughness that truly set him apart. On the court, Federer was ice-cool, unshakable, a player who never let the moment overwhelm him. But with success came new challenges, new rivals, and new battles to fight. As Federer's star continued to rise, so too did the competition. And no rivalry in tennis history is as storied as that between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Their matches were more than just games. They were wars, epic battles fought on the world's biggest stages, and none was more intense, more dramatic than the 2008 Wimbledon final. It was a match for the ages. 5 sets, lasting nearly 5 hours, with neither player willing to give an inch. Federer was the king of Wimbledon, but on that day, Nadal was unstoppable. Determined to prove himself on grass, he broke Federer's 65-match grass court winning streak in a match that left everyone breathless. Federer had lost, but he wasn't defeated. This was more than a rivalry. It was a partnership, each player pushing the other to new heights. In the years that followed, Federer's dominance was tested, not just by Nadal, but by the emergence of Novak Djokovic. The tennis world was changing, and Federer, now in his late 20s, faced challenges that would have broken lesser men. But Federer wasn't just a player, he was a champion, and champions don't quit. By 2016, the tennis world began to wonder, had we seen the last of Roger Federer's greatness? Injuries had sidelined him, age was catching up, and the new generation of players was stronger, faster, hungrier. But those who knew Federer knew one thing: he was never done until he said he was done. After a knee surgery and a 6-month break, Federer returned to the court in 2017, not just to compete, but to reclaim his place at the top. At the Australian Open, he faced his old rival Nadal in the final. The match was everything fans had hoped for: intense, dramatic, and in the end, Federer emerged victorious, claiming his 18th Grand Slam title. He wasn't just back, he was better than ever. Later that year, he made his comeback at Wimbledon and did what no one else had ever done. He won his 8th Wimbledon title, cementing his legacy as the greatest player to ever grace the grass courts. And in 2018, at the age of 36, he won his 20th Grand Slam at the Australian Open, a record that still stands as a testament to his enduring greatness. All great stories must come to an end, and in September 2022, Roger Federer announced his retirement from professional tennis. His final match wasn't a solo effort, but a doubles event at the Laver Cup, where he was joined by none other than Rafael Nadal. The two rivals turned friends played together one last time, not for trophies, not for records, but for the love of the game. As the final point was played, the crowd rose to its feet, not in sadness, but in celebration of a career that had given so much to so many. Federer's retirement was not the end of his journey, but the beginning of a new chapter. He walked away from the sport, not with regret, but with a heart full of gratitude and a legacy that would inspire generations to come. Roger Federer's story is not just about tennis. It's about the pursuit of greatness, the power of resilience, and the impact one person can have on the world. Through the Roger Federer Foundation, he has touched the lives of countless children, providing them with opportunities they might never have had. His influence extends far beyond the court, inspiring not just future tennis players, but anyone who dares to dream big. Federer's legacy isn't just in the records he set or the titles he won, but in the way he played the game, with grace, with honor, and with a passion that never faded. And though he may no longer compete, his story isn't over. It lives on in the millions of fans who watched him play, in the young players who look up to him, and in the hearts of everyone who believes that with enough dedication, anything is possible. Roger Federer has left the court, but his legacy will never leave us. He showed us that tennis is more than just a sport. It's a journey, one filled with triumphs, defeats, and moments that define us. Thank you, Roger, for the memories, the inspiration, and the magic.